Part 6. When the World Looked Away. There are wars that shake the world, and there are wars the world quietly steps over. Sudan became the second kind. Not because the suffering was smaller, not because the deaths were fewer, but because powerful nations decided the story was too inconvenient to care about. This is the chapter where Sudan screamed and only the desert answered. For months, satellite images captured entire towns turning to ash. The outlines of burned villages, perfect circles of destruction, appeared on screens thousands of miles away. Diplomats saw them. Governments saw them. Newsrooms saw them. But the world had other stories to tell, stories that fit better on headlines, stories that didn't require questioning old alliances, stories that didn't involve admitting who was helping fuel the war. And so Sudan burned in the shadows. When journalists tried to enter, the roads were too dangerous. Those who reached the camps returned with stories that sounded too horrific to be believed. A village of 3,000, one said, gone in a single night. A convoy of families shot as they fled. Children disappearing. Women vanishing. Mass graves that locals covered quietly because no one was coming to investigate. The desert swallowed the evidence, and the world held its guilt. To understand why Sudan suffers, you must follow the one trail that never lies: gold. Deep beneath Sudan's soil lies some of the richest gold deposits in Africa. For years, militias, generals, and foreign powers circled like vultures. Some wanted the mines, some wanted the trade routes, some wanted influence over the Red Sea. Some wanted access to cheap mercenaries for distant wars. Sudan became less a nation and more a marketplace for power. Warlords traded minerals for weapons. Foreign governments funded militias to secure influence. Smugglers moved gold across borders under the cover of chaos. Every bullet fired in Sudan came from somewhere. Every burned village benefited someone. And while Sudanese families walked for days without food, gold shipments quietly left the country, flying east, north, and sometimes into the pockets of those who claimed to seek peace. In this war, the battlefield was not only on the ground, it was in the shadows. Children are the ones who suffer the most in Sudan, but they are also the ones trying to hold the shattered pieces of the future. In the camps, they create schools out of stones and sticks. They draw maps of their lost villages in the dirt. They dream of becoming doctors, pilots, teachers. Dreams that feel almost defiant in a world determined to break them. But war has a cruel way of stealing childhood. Teenagers become heads of household overnight. Girls marry early to protect themselves from being taken. Boys join militias because it's the only way to feed their families. Some children have seen more graves than birthdays. Some have learned to identify gunshots by sound. Some know which direction to run when planes fly overhead. These children carry the weight of a country the world has forgotten. And yet, they still laugh. They find joy in makeshift footballs tied from plastic bags. They dance when aid workers bring music. They sing old Sudanese songs as if chanting the nation back into existence. Their resilience is not just beautiful, it is a rebellion. Once, Sudan had a capital where ministers debated, diplomats shook hands, and leaders made decisions. Now, the idea of government exists only on paper. Power has shattered like glass. One faction controls this region. Another claims that city. Foreign fighters protect certain zones. Smugglers run the borders. Militias enforce their own laws. Khartoum, once a proud capital, is now a battlefield of broken towers and empty ministries. In some neighborhoods, wild dogs roam the government buildings. The silence inside the halls echoes louder than any speech once delivered there. A nation without government becomes a vacuum, and vacuums never stay empty. They fill with violence, they fill with hunger, they fill with the ambitions of men with guns. Sudan became a land where laws have no weight, but weapons do. Around the world, leaders spoke in careful statements. We are concerned. We urge restraint. We call for a ceasefire. But concern does not stop bullets. Urging does not rebuild cities, and ceasefire talks mean nothing if no one enforces them. While Sudan collapsed, international meetings continued. Photos were taken, speeches were applauded. But no peacekeepers arrived. No real sanctions were applied. No protection for civilians was guaranteed. Aid was blocked. Visas were denied. Borders were sealed. Sudan became a humanitarian nightmare behind a locked door. And the world held the key, but didn't turn it. Yet in the middle of the darkness, there is something the militias cannot burn: the spirit of Sudan. The people who still whisper prayers into the wind. The women who still brew coffee even when sugar is scarce. The children who still sing at night. The elders who still tell stories under the stars about the Sudan that once existed, and the Sudan that could exist again. Sudan is not dead. It is wounded. It is bleeding. It is unheard. But it is not defeated. As long as one Sudanese mother sings to her child, as long as one family draws water from a shattered well, as long as one young person dreams of rebuilding the future, Sudan lives. And one day the world will have to answer why it heard Sudan's cries and walked away.